Oi, pessoal! Bom, vamos lá, hein? Você que já escuta a gente desde sempre sabe que a gente tem um maravilhoso parceiro, que é o Cambly, que te dá uma aula de graça para testar a plataforma deles de inglês, né? E se você não fez até hoje, eu vou puxar a orelha, eu vou te puxar debaixo do edredom, eu vou fazer qualquer coisa, porque não é possível uma coisa dessas.
Exatamente. Gente, é impressionante a quantidade de mensagens, de e-mails que a gente recebe perguntando, tipo, eu quero falar com falantes nativos. Como é que eu faço isso? Eu posso falar com o Foster? Agora a resposta é não. Pode usar o Cambly. O Cambly é ótimo. É um serviço que a gente realmente confia neles e realmente vale a pena experimentar.
Vale super a pena experimentar e você só acessar pelo website, que é cambly.com, ou pelo aplicativo do Cambly no seu smartphone e colocar, depois de criar o seu perfil em minutos grátis, Inglês no Cru Podcast. Mais fácil do que isso, não tem.
Exactly. Talk to native speakers with Cambly, and let's get on with the show. Hello, hello, hey, sweet people. I hope you are doing well. Welcome to another episode of Inglês no Cru Rádio. My name is Foster, and today on the show we are joined by an extra special guest. The one
that
the
is always here. The one that is always here, Alexia.
Just because you are always here does not mean that you are less special.
Oh, amor. Such a great answer. Well done.
And I miss you.
I miss you too.
Okay, great. Good episode.
Okay, bye.
Okay, so this week on the show, we have been talking about teachers, what makes a good teacher, kind of a lot of information for maybe teachers that are listening to this, but also for students to really improve how they learn in English classes, right?
Right.
Okay, so if you have not listened to the last 3 or 4 episodes, maybe it's a good idea to start with those episodes and listen to this one later.
Yes.
Okay, today, Alexia, I want to talk about 2 things, I believe.
2?
Yeah, 2 different things that are
Okay.
kind of connected. So the first thing that I think we should talk about is engaging material. So resources, right?
Right.
So I remember, let me begin with a story, as all teachers are also excellent storytellers.
You especially.
Yeah, we should record an episode about storytelling, but that's a different story. So when I started to learn Portuguese, I had to buy a textbook that cost $280.
That cost how much? Sorry?
$280 US.
Whoa.
So right now that is like 1.500 reais.
Yeah, but during the time, I would say like 500, 600 reais.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but that was only like 4 or 5 years ago, and that was the traditional way to learn languages. I sat in a class with other students. The teacher talked about things. At the end of the class, he said, okay, for tomorrow, read chapter 2 in the textbook, and then we read the class.
Yeah, but this was more than 5 years ago.
Okay, when I started learning for 6, 7 years ago. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, it not that long in the past, people were still using these antiquated methods, and people still are using these methods.
That's horrible.
It-
I mean, you had money to pay for that. Imagine who hasn't.
Yeah. $280 is a lot for a textbook. And nowadays, with the internet, you don't really have to pay for
Almost
a lot of
anything.
information.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we have to have a disclaimer. Like, we have courses that you have to pay for. I do think investing in really quality materials, that's a good thing. But a lack of resources is not the problem. You do not have to go to a bookstore and buy a really expensive textbook. Nowadays, you can just read an article, watch a YouTube video, listen to a podcast, right?
Yeah, right.
So, one of the very important jobs as a teacher is to provide those resources and really do a good job of giving your student material that is engaging, that is relevant, that is exciting and interesting for them.
Yeah, material that will give this student the pleasure of studying.
Precisely. Precisely. So let me give a very recent example. Yesterday, I took a Portuguese class.
Yeah, European Portuguese class, right?
Yes. So I speak Portuguese.
European.
Mm-hmm. I speak Portuguese, but I learned Brazilian Portuguese, and Portuguese from Portugal is very difficult for me. So I'm trying to improve that a little bit. And my teacher, I've done maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8 classes with her. I can't remember exactly, but she is really good at the end of the class. She always gives me good, unique, and interesting resources. And I love that. So, for example, in our last class, we were talking about me and how 2020 has been a terrible year for me and for everyone. And then we started talking about her, like you do in normal conversations. You go back and forth. And I did not know that she is an artist. She's a photographer, and she has a really cool website with all of her art and expositions. So the resources for last class, my homework essentially was just go to my website and read everything. Tell me what you think is interesting. Tell me if you have opinions about things that I could improve. And for me, that was perfect because it's so personal. I know her. I also like photography. And that was just the perfect resource for me in that moment.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. You didn't tell me.
Yeah. Yeah, you're hearing it for the first time live on the air.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah. So can you think of other examples of resources or material or just examples kind of situations where you would give students resources?
Yeah, well, for me, it's a little bit easier because I am teaching Brazilian Portuguese conversation classes, and we kind of have a podcast called Carioca Connection. And depending on the subject of that class and what we talked about, I send this student either our worksheets or our episodes, and I ask them to listen to that and to understand what we are saying. And if the student has any questions, he can send me an email or ask the next class. So this is one thing that I do. And the other thing is depending on the subject. Again, I try to find like something on the internet from globo.com or from another website that it's what we are talking about. Like if it's from politics or something related to soap opera, I don't know. And then I find an
Right.
article and I'll send it to the student.
Yeah. So I think you bring up 2 really good points. First, it's like very traditional advice. Like if you're learning a new language, just change your homepage to like the most popular news site in that country. So I remember all of my teachers saying, okay, don't go to NPR, go to global.com. And that never really worked for me because I opened Global and there's just a lot in Portuguese and it's too much. So I really like the idea of sending your student something specific. Like, hey, this is what we were talking about. I found this article on Global. I want you to read this article and tell me what you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just said
Perfect.
global because it's very easy to remember, but I try to find different sources, of course. It's not only global.
Yeah. And these sources are very specific to the student.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, I have students on the extreme left of the political aisle and to the extreme right. Naturally, I'm not going to
Send a left
send,
to a
like,
right.
yeah, I'm not going to do something that just they're not going to like.
Uh-huh.
So, specific is good. Another great point that you mentioned for the example, you said you give your students some of our worksheets so they
Mm-hmm.
can listen and read. I think it's very important to really clarify with your student and try to discover how do they learn best.
Yeah.
Do they learn best visually? Are they more of an auditory learner? Do they like to read? Do they like to write? What do they like to do?
Yeah.
Because what do they like to do and what are their goals, right?
Yeah. So I have a student that he's very into history. And then he was asking me about Portugal's history because, I mean, they only know the basics, right? And I sent him like 3 books that my dad read. Unfortunately, I haven't yet. And then he bought the first one. He's reading everything about Portugal, and it's in Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, and he's loving it, loving it. So it doesn't have to be like something that you're gonna work every class and talk about that. It can be something for his life as well.
Yeah, I think it should be. That's another really important point I wanted to make. The idea with giving your student homework or giving your student resources and materials is real learning happens outside of class, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you have one class for 1 hour each week. That is not enough to learn English. You
Mm-mm.
have to be motivated, take initiative, and that's the point of giving someone engaging material,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And nowadays you can have engaging material such as like a Netflix show, YouTube channel. For example, Porta dos Fundos for you worked and for my students as well. And it's like one of my students, he just watched the one that is Judite, Fábio Porchat, trying to cancel Tim. And it's amazing because everyone around the world can relate to that joke because we have awful services around the world. So it's very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think this is a really good point to end on. It does take a little bit of time to know exactly what material works best for you personally. So, for example, if your teacher recommends a book, let's say you're talking about sports and your teacher says, "Oh, here's a great book about sports in the US." And you try to read the book, but it's too much and it just does not feel productive and you don't enjoy it.
Just
In the
like what
next
happened
class,
to me with the book that you recommended to me that I couldn't read at all.
exactly. So you need to be open with yourself about what is engaging and interesting to you. I know personally this has happened to me so many times, and I see it all the time with my students. Like, you give them something, it's not fun, they don't like it, it just did not connect well with them, and then they begin to think, oh, my English isn't good because I'm not enjoying this, it's
Mm-hmm.
difficult for me. So for me personally, I am a very auditory learner. I love listening to things, listening to podcasts, radio, and music.
And I am a visual one.
Yeah. So at the end of a class, if a teacher says, "Do you want any recommendations?" I say, "Yeah. Do you have any podcasts to recommend?" Or if they don't ask for, if I want recommendations, I ask them, hey, do you have any podcast or radio that you listen to or music that you like that I can listen to? And that's perfect for me.
Yeah, and that's a thing that we're gonna talk more about next week, but I wanna point it out right now because us as teachers, we do a lot to try to understand you guys as students, right? But some people struggle a little bit to like open themselves and let us know what they want. And it's always better if you let us know what you want than us guessing and trying to get it right. So, for example, for me, I am a visual person. I love watching movies and shows and like anything that is visual, I love it. And for Foster, it's more about the audio, as he said. But I mean, I would love having some podcasts as well. But if there is some show about a book or something, I would prefer the show or the movie. And it depends.
Yeah, it totally depends on you. And remember, you are paying someone to
Yeah.
help you. So if I'm going to pay for a Portuguese class, I want to have a good connection with that person. I want them to give me good recommendations for resources.
Mm-hmm.
So ideally, I have a good conversation with someone. They correct me, give me some tips on my pronunciation and grammar. At the end of the class, they give me a podcast to listen to. I listen to that podcast, I take notes, and in the next class, we talk about it.
Exactly.
That's what I want to pay for. So for
Yeah.
me, that's a perfect language class. And I think all language students just need to take some time and think about what is the perfect language class for you.
Yeah. And okay, so I think that next week is going to be very interesting.
Every week with you is interesting, meu amor. Okay, thanks guys, and we will talk to you next week.
Bye! Muito obrigada por ter escutado mais um episódio aqui do Inglês de Necrorádio. É muito bom ter você juntinho assim de nós. Faz muito, muito carinho no nosso coração, digamos assim. Então você que está interessado em saber mais sobre os nossos produtos e saber mais sobre a gente, o que a gente oferece para vocês em relação a estudo, a challenge, a curso, vá lá no inglesdenecro.com e você pode ver mais sobre as worksheets, por exemplo.
Yeah. If you want to really improve your English, if you want to learn more about the ways you can do that and just connect with us on a deeper level, go to inglesdenecro.com. And as always, keep up the good fight.
And lose well.
See you guys tomorrow.
Bye.